I feel like in the anime and manga community, there are staple and essential series that you have to check out or at least be somewhat familiar with. The classics like Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, and Yu Yu Hakusho, the big three that old heads just won't shut up about, new gen trash like My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer, the infamous trio of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Hunter x Hunter and Attack on Titan, and all the elitist stuff like Berserk, Vagabond, and Goodnight Punpun. There are a lot of series like this, and they're all fairly good in their own rights. Bleach is still one of my favorite anime ever, One Piece is cool, Naruto was my childhood, Vagabond is a top 1 manga, and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is quite frankly God's gift to mankind. What I'm trying to get at here is that these series that are almost everywhere are that good stuff, and it's always nice to have your expectations blown away, even with them already being so high. One of these quote-unquote essential series that I honestly can't go a day without seeing someone mention is JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Now with all of this insane hype and a close friend of mine motivating me to check it out, I was excited and made the choice to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, and my initial thoughts were, well, that it was trash. Yes, part 1 was trash. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. What honestly stopped me from killing myself when watching this was Dio and the fairly decent conclusion. I didn't enjoy part 1 at all. And for almost the longest time, the chances of me continuing the series were next to nothing. Then, one night, something changed. I was chilling with the homies in Discord, going on Omegle, and then someone in the call turned on their camera showing off their JoJo manga, and ironically, it chased away all the girls on the websites. Thus, the bitch repellent was born. That was when I realized that JoJo was probably going to be peak fiction and that I needed to watch it. The next day, I saw the last few episodes of part 1 to refresh my mind, and then got into part 2. And man, oh man, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 2 was exactly what I needed. It was even almost perfect. The very first scene in Part 2 opens with Best Waifu, Speedwagon, and the Masters of Hamon from Part 1 exploring a cave in Mexico, as well as finding more stone masks which were thought to be extinct. The single scene sets up Part 2's narrative excellently, and it got me thinking, are there more caves like this? Who are the people in the stones? Who will defeat them? And wait, who exactly is our main character? We then get a switch of setting to New York where we see a young pickpocketer being harassed by some overweight policeman. As the young boy continues to be pestered by the police, the exact same person he robbed earlier, a 6'5", muscular Chad Englishman, shows up to save him, quite literally beating the crap out of the police, asserting his dominance as an alpha male. This great man is none other than our main character, Joseph Joestar. Joseph is, well, fucking amazing. He goes around shooting down restaurants with his Tommy gun, rides a badass motorcycle and beats down some Nazis, befriends a Chad Alpha 6'1" Italian hormone master, and actually gets bitches unlike your favorite main character. If Jonathan Joestar was way too uptight for your liking, then Joseph will make up for it 100 times over. Hell, he even joked about his granny and godfather having an affair. Can your main character do that? I bet he can't. He's one of those main characters you'd like to be like. Throughout the course of the series, he doesn't get any BS power-ups either. Instead, he uses cunning and devious tricks to defeat enemies that may as well be considered gods, highlighting that if you use it effectively, your brain will always know that bungee gum has both the properties of rubber and gum. That's crazy, right? Joseph keeps you entertained and genuinely interested in what he's going to do next, and even with all of his tricks and humorous sides, he does get very heartfelt moments that honestly hit different. You see this character who's always fooling around, breaking down crying at the loss of something important, and then it hits you that at the end of the day, he's also just human. He may not be the most complex, well-written of the lot, but I truly loved his personality and interactions so much that writing really didn't mean shit. Joseph was just that guy. He could kill ancient stripper giants in a stolen Nazi plane and still make it home to his wife to smash. I truly applaud Hirohiko Araki for creating such a bizarre yet brilliant character, pulling off what most could only dream of. The plot of Part 2 is nothing too serious. It's set in 1938 and follows the misadventures of Joseph and his comrades as he masters Hamon in order to combat hostile ancient super beings named the Pillamen, creators of the Stone Mask. It's very simple yet effective and presented in the most bizarre manner possible, thus the name JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. The character designs are bizarre yet beautiful. The voice acting is bizarre, yet it touches the heart, and the sequence of events is bizarre, yet so damn entertaining. I had heard previously that part 2 was very good, but I honestly didn't expect to enjoy it this much. I was captivated by Joseph, Caesar, Lisa, Stroheim, and even Wamu. Fuck cars though, nobody likes that bitchless loser. The show wasn't too long or too short, and wasted no time getting things done. When you wanted action, it was there and never dragged out for the sake of revenue. And that's actually made even more evident by the fact that the JoJo anime has 0 filler episodes, despite the fact the manga has like what, 1,200 and something chapters. It really amazes me that it's so well paced, unlike a certain series we've heard of. The characters in part 2 were also one of my favorite parts of the show. I think Joseph's dynamic with Caesar was really well done, and their entire friendship was something great. Lisa was a really cool female lead, and I really enjoyed the latter twist her character had. Von Stroheim was honestly just my boy. He was a Nazi, but despite that, I respected him. He stood up for his army and never backed down, even through death. Stroheim was just built different, and I love that part of him. The Pillarmen, the main antagonists of part 2, were okay for the most part. I didn't find that loser beta male cars to be of much interest, and wasn't SCDC in like what, 2 episodes? Wamu, on the other hand, was quite brilliant in fact. He really represented the pride and honor of a warrior excellently, and his dynamic with Joseph was one that I truly hold in high regard. He may not have been a Griffith or a Makishima, but he was still damn amazing in his own right. Now, if you haven't realized already, one of the big reasons why I ever even considered watching JoJo was because a very close friend of mine who was very passionate about the series would always motivate me to check it out and post about it. That friend also happens to be a YouTuber, and I was lucky enough to get him to feature on this video. So I'm going to let you take it away, Biscore, and just tell everyone your thoughts on part 2.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on this video, bro. Now, as a person who's watched the JoJo anime like in its entirety 5 times and counting, it took me quite a while to realize why part 2 performed so well, and I finally got it. I realized it's due to Araki Hirohiko's ability to demonstrate philosophies, for example, the old book like The Art of War. Now, Araki Hirohiko has found the best way to show this in battle, that brains is much better than brawn in any situation. Like, you could be the greatest fighter, but at the end of the day, the smartest fighter is going to be the one who ends up leaving the battlefield. Joseph was always the weakest person in comparison to those people around him, whether it be his allies or the enemy. And this was shown in, for example, battles against the Pillarmen, where he was incredibly outclassed physically, and yet he managed to always overcome the challenges with just brains alone. His formula is one that many animes actually try and do, but only a few animes do it and then perfect it, and those animes end up standing out throughout the test of time. For example, Cowboy Bebop being able to perfectly blend the whole idea of brains versus brawn, because honestly, fighting alone is not going to get you through anything, and that's one of the issues with part 3, but part 2 was able to perfectly blend that. Like, Joseph was the greatest example of that, always trying to throw off his opponents with his brain, since winning the mental fight was the most important thing of the fight. This being shown like when Joseph tried to aggravate AC/DC, and then AC/DC was like, you try your best to aggravate me, but I am not a person who can be aggravated, or something like that. You know the line. It's a meme at this point. And even though it did fail, the fact that it had to be pointed out shows where Joseph's mind lies, always needing to be one step ahead of you, always trying to predict, always just needing to predict your next move. For example, when he always does that "Tsugi ni omae wa," and then he calls out the next move you're about to say in "Toru," and then you end up saying it. It just throws you off, because I'm pretty sure anybody would be thrown off knowing that, oh, you can predict what I'm about to say next, or what I'm about to do next. And that was one of the greatest things about Joseph Joestar, just his ability to think on his feet so well. And JoJo is an anime that really doesn't give a fuck. It shows no remorse when it comes to killing its cast, even the main character. For example, Jonathan Joestar dying at the end of part 1. If you haven't watched it, that's a spoiler. By the way, why are you watching this video in the first place if, you know... Anyways, the fact that Araki Hirohiko really doesn't care to kill his main cast really shows how important it is to think on your feet, and that's what makes Joseph's brains even more amazing, because his life or death was unknown to the audience and the people inside the anime. So to think as brilliantly as he did in the face of such strong opponents, including Cars, who at the time was a literal god with an IQ of 400, just props to Joseph at that point. And personally, that's why part 2 is definitely one of the top 3 best JoJo's of all time, and I'm willing to die on that hill. Anyways, that's enough for me. Thank you again, Rafi, for allowing me to speak on this video, and sorry that I spoke for so long.